Sup Zelda fans, welcome to Zonai Test Bench, where I show off contraptions I've made in Tears of the Kingdom. If you'd like your build featured in a video, send it to me over on X at RMFH Gaming. More are coming, so subscribe and hit that notification bell. Today I'll be showing you how to create 3 Star Wars themed vehicles. Let's get building. The first build I'll be discussing is the X-Wing. I'll be straight up, all of these are mostly for show, as they waste far too much battery to be used regularly. Plus, they're time consuming to make. With that in mind, the most important piece of the ship is the Zonai elevator railing, which you can get inside the right leg depot of the Construct Factory in the depths. Normally, you can't detach parts from pre-built structures. However, these elevators are special. By utilizing 2 stabilizers mounted horizontally on top of the railing, you can force it to break, giving you access to a new Zonai part. Make sure to save the railing in your auto build catalog. We'll be using it to craft both the X-Wing and another starship later in the video. From there, travel to the Big Twin Bridge near the Dueling Peaks stable. Here we'll be using phantom clipping to construct the engines for the X-Wing, a technique that allows Zonai parts to clip through each other, saving space on builds. Take the fans and create a vehicle with them and start heading towards this point on the map near the Pillars of Levaya, and then return to the Big Twin Bridge. This will cause the fans at the bridge to respawn. Grab the fans and match them up to their counterparts from before, and you'll notice that they clip through each other. Attach them to your vehicle and repeat the process 2 more times to get a total of 8 fans. With all of them collected, use auto build to create 7 Zonai rails. Take 2 of the rails and put them together like so. From there, drop a Zonai stake and place the 2 rails on top of it. The stake will allow us to keep everything stable moving forward. Use a 3rd rail and place it on top with a little bit sticking out. This will be the spot for our steering stick. From there, flip the cockpit over and begin placing the lower engines. Attach 2 fans vertically on either side and then take 2 more and place them at a 45-degree angle right behind them. Make sure to match up the fans that clip through each other as I do here. After that, it's time to place the wings. Put a railing on either side of the ship and then attach a beam emitter to each of them, making sure to keep them lined up. Now follow the same process for the top engines and wings. Only this time, put the beam emitters on the tip of the wings first, and then put the wings on the top of the fans at a 45. All you have to do from here is snap on a steering stick and detach the stake from the ship. Here's a clip of my starfighter in action. I'll have more to show off at the end of the video. For now, let's move on to our next Star Wars vehicle, the Zonai Pod Racer. To begin, you'll need 2 spears for this build. I recommend Zora spears. You can find them at the points marked on the map above. After that, you'll need to go to the Big Twin Bridge and grab 2 Zonai fans. This time, instead of immediately creating a flying machine and taking off to perform phantom clipping, we're going to do a different technique known as stake nudging. You see, to get the look of the pod racer's engines, we'll need to stretch the connection point of the fans until it becomes invisible. This can be done by putting the fans together, placing a stake on one side, and then carefully using a second stake to pull the fans apart. Occasionally, you'll need to use auto build to solidify the stretch. It's also important to use it to get that final invisible connection point. It's a long process, but if done correctly, you can create some interesting contraptions. As for this build, you'll want to try to keep the fans as straight as possible. If you need to move them around, use the stakes to realign them when necessary. Eventually, you'll end up with something like this. Once you have a big enough gap between the fans, you can create the cockpit and carry on to the phantom clipping portion of this build. To create the cockpit, take out the Zora spears I mentioned before, a Zonai sled, and a steering stick. Align and connect the spears to the fans, then put the steering stick on the sled and attach the sled to one of the spears. If you match it up close enough, it should look like they're both attached to the sled. From here, we can start the phantom clipping process. To get the vehicle up and moving, put on a couple temporary fans and start traveling to the Pillars of Levaya, and return to get 2 more fans. This will be what we need for the front engines on the vehicle. Place the phantom fans at a 45 on either side of the racer, and then attach 2 more standard fans in front of those at a 45 to complete the work on the front engines. With that done, we need to do the same for the rear engines located under the sled. Go back to the Pillars of Levaya and return to the bridge 3 more times to get 3 additional fans. These will need to clip through one another, so make sure to grab the same fans each time. Put 2 under the sled horizontally and 1 at a 45 to finish off the rear engines. With that done, we need to put on the pod racer's energy binders, otherwise known as beam emitters. These will go in the middle of each of the front engines with them both pointed towards each other. I recommend placing the vehicle on a stake to make sure the beam emitters are lined up properly. You should have a fully functional pod racer. All you have to do now is travel to Gerudo Desert to enter the race. As a bonus, while you're there, you can switch out the Zonai sled for a Sandseal sled by renting one from Gerudo Town. The last Star Wars build is the U-Wing. We'll use the Zonai elevator railings found in the right leg depot of the Construct Factory in the depths, just like with the X-Wing. If it's saved in your auto build catalog, use that. Otherwise, go back down and grab the railing again. Once you have it, return to the big twin bridge near the Dueling Peak stable. We'll use phantom clipping once again to create the same engines as the X-Wing. Make a flying machine using the 2 fans near the bridge and travel to the Pillars of Levia. Then return to the bridge and grab the extra fans. Repeat the process 2 more times to get a total of 8 fans for the rear engines. With the fans collected, use auto build to create 6 elevator railings, then take out 2 Zonai carts, a construct head, and a beam emitter. Put one of the rails flat on the ground, attach a cart at a 45 to the front, and then place a second cart the same way in the rear. Now put another rail on top to form the cockpit of the U-Wing. From there, use the remaining rails to create the wings, putting the first 2 near the front creating the U shape of the vehicle, and then 2 more to finish the outside of the ship. With that finished, add a steering stick inside of the cockpit. Moving on, we'll create the weapon system. Attach a construct head to the front of the ship, and then place the beam emitter on top of it. All we have left from here is the engine systems. Starting with the rear engines, place 2 fans vertically on the top and bottom of the ship's left side. Then take 2 more fans and attach them at a 45 behind the first 2. Now do the same process on the right side of the ship to complete the rear engines. Unfortunately, this won't get the ship in the air. We gotta put fans on each of the vehicle's wings at a 45, allowing the U-Wing to take flight. These builds might not take us to a galaxy far, far away, but flying them around Hyrule is close enough. I spent a lot of time creating and testing these Star Wars inspired vehicles, so please give them a try and let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode of Test Bench, leave a like and consider subscribing. I always have more Zelda content in the works. Again, if you'd like your build featured in a video, submit them to me over on X, @RMFH Gaming. Have a happy new year and stay safe out there. RMFH out.